Welcome to Living the Dream Iowa Life. I'm your host, Hannah Nuss, and each weekday we'll share enthusiasm for what's possible and dive into the stories of Iowans living their dream lives right here in the heartland. Whether you're chasing a big goal or just looking for a little inspiration, we've got you covered. Let's change the world together. This is Living the Dream Iowa Life. Let's go. Heyo, welcome to Living the Dream Iowa Life podcast. I'm your host. Hey, Hannah. It's me. It really is so great to be here with you. Today, we are breaking down the question, what narratives are you rewriting? Now, if you catch this and you're like, I really want to chat. I want some reflection. I want more out of this question. I'm fine with Hannah telling me her story, but I want to share my story. Just know that I post these. Do I post them on Instagram? I don't actually have the social medias. I don't have the apps. I don't have the app, so I can't actually see what I post. I can see and comment and communicate with you through the back end. Through the suites. So I don't know if I actually post these to Instagram and Facebook. I will double check that today. But if you want to extend the conversation, if you want to share your story and dive in and create connection with like-minded community that are following my personal page, and listen, we are a small but mighty little group of mostly women. There are probably some guys out there who accidentally liked my page or who are related to me and felt obligated. No, self-growth is not dependent on gender or identity. It is a part of everyone's human evolution. It's a journey that we all get to choose to take. And so whomever wants to engage with the question further, go ahead and join us on our socials. I do post these same questions on my business page at Hannah Marie Nuss on my Insta and on my Facebook. And I would love to chat with you on there because obviously this is just one way. I'm going to tell you my story, but I would love to hear more about your story, your answer to this question, what you're reflecting on, because it helps me continue to grow as well. Because every time that I've ever been in a deep dive with these connection questions, because I do run connection facilitation for like retreats and groups to start on this level, to make sure that those connections are made. Usually groups, corporate groups, everybody, usually they're trading the stale networking hour that everyone skips for connection facilitation. And this is where we deep dive and we get to know one another. And one of the first events that I did that I was like, I don't know how to do this, but I bet I can figure it out. It was almost instantaneous. Like all these women were kind of sitting on their chairs like, oh, what did I even sign up for? I don't know. And then every question, and the more questions that we did, because we kind of did it like a speed round dating, the more questions that we did, the longer that they took to get out of there. And then by even the first day, women were exchanging contact information. They were connecting during the down times, and they were shopping together, moving through the community together. So it is exactly what we wanted. It's how you want to start your event, no question. So I have worked in places where this connection, I have seen it transform a space. Whereas sometimes in these bigger groups, we sort of sit by ourselves and we don't really get to know the other person. Maybe they tell us what their business is, or they elevator pitch puke on us. And then we're like, okay, I don't have anything, like, I don't have any way for that to benefit me. I don't know. But a story is always something that we can connect ourselves in. And it helps with our own self-growth, because maybe their story, their journey is a little ahead of ours. That's possible. And so the narrative that they're going to tell us, the story they're going to tell us, is somewhere that's aspirational for us. Oh, I really want to get there. right? And so maybe this is a great person to connect with for your continued self-growth, because this is somewhere you want to be. And maybe we wouldn't have ever talked or met them because we would have just elevator pitch puked on them and they would have been like, ugh, gross, bye. And then we all sit in our separate chairs and we listen to the thing, and then we go home and we get in our own cars. It's supposed to be warm, but there's no warmth. So that really is what connection questions do. And if that person is behind you in their story, in where they're at, right? Maybe you can offer some help, some strategies, or maybe just listening to that person, to their story, to their narrative is what they need most. And yeah, it's been beautiful to see that unravel in a lot of different ways in my life. And I love doing those sessions. So the questions online are meant to be like that. And while you go, well, Hannah, how can we connect online? It's so weird. I don't know that I'm really connecting. Stories connect, period. And they allow us to explore each other through common threads. So if you get on and you answer the question yesterday, what is my dream day? Oh, I dream of sitting on a beach in Florida somewhere. And then someone you don't know gets on and like, same girl, same. Oh my gosh, we should grab coffee. Da, da, da. It's not about the connection, right? The immediate connection, which is what we usually want social media to allow us. It really is about the extended connection, the potential of that connection, whether it's to me or whether it's to your great guide in this life or to your next best friend, whatever that is, or to an acquaintance who just shares a moment with you and gives you a chance to talk it all out. What a beautiful thing to have. So that's on there. If you ever want to deep dive, engage a little bit further, feel free. If you don't, and you're like, you're a crazy person, I would never put that stuff out there, fine too. Fine. But have the discussion with yourself at minimum, right? Journal on this, reflect on this question. And then I actually love bringing connection questions, like grounding all of my meetings in connection. For anything that I'm doing. Usually it's connection question, and then I don't even know what I do. Actually, take it back. It is greatness grounding, because I do believe I always want to start my meetings at like a high vibe, right? Because I like good things and I really don't like sour, messy, terrible things. So we're going to start with a great thing. That's what we're going to do. We're going to ground ourselves in our greatness. And then we're going to follow that up with connection, because those two things I feel like are really at the core of what led to my movement, my biggest moves in this life. Really the core of who I am in this life, I would say. So greatness, right? Acknowledgement of our own greatness. That's how we're going to start the day. And then connection, because of how vital that is to humanity. And wow, connection looks a lot different these days. We can create space for it with the platforms that we have. And I feel very blessed to do that and to create space for that. So if you want to do that, go ahead and check that out. Okay, so today's question, without further ado, is how are you rewriting your narratives? And I was reading in my book this morning, and this gentleman was talking about how he grew up in this kind of like gang-ridden area. And he had grown up there, and so many people had just battled and fought for his entire life for centuries and centuries. The narratives were just passed down. It was a place of hate and scarcity and scariness, and he moved. And as soon as he moved, he realized no one knows about this, about the roots of any of this. No one here knows, because once people left, like even when we're talking about people coming from the same place, they changed the narrative. And they didn't let that bleed over into this new space, right? Because they left for a reason. And so he's kind of deep diving into that, and he talks about being an astronaut and seeing the world from up there. There are so many individual things going on, but when you're looking at it from a higher level, you realize we really are all in this together. And it's our choice to change the narrative. And so he talked about when he had kids, he talked about his home, his birthplace, as this beautiful, culturally diverse, very strong, engaged heritage home. And it really was as simple as, right? Listen to the intention behind those words. They still are the same thing, right? Culturally diverse. We have two very different groups living in a same place. Culturally diverse. Great. And heritage, like strong heritage, pride. Well, yeah, they feel so passionate about who they are, about their identity, that they are willing to kill for it. Right? But how the narrative got relayed to him was, we are better than them. Yes, we have drastic differences, and here they all are. And this is why ours are better, and theirs are worse. And we are so proud of who we are and how we show up in this world that it is worth risking your life to stand in defense of that. And so the conversion matters, the intention matters, because you could write the story either way. And I don't know, it really just got me reflecting on narratives that were written into my life. And the truth, and dang it, I wish I had my picture from this weekend, because we got to draw. And I drew this little teeny tiny little baby, like just nearly in the womb. But there was this kind of rainbow chakra of energy, kind of like circling out from this teeny tiny baby. Like there was power in this being prior to it even arriving. And your narratives that are written for you as you're born. So like this gentleman, he was born into this place that was tough, right? And he rejected those narratives. I don't have to stay here. This is not who I am. This is not my truth. This battle, this discomfort, this unsafe place to live in. This is not my truth. This is not who I am. This is not what I want for my life. And so he left. And he even said it was really hard to realize this is just an assigned narrative that we keep repeating. That we could all rescue ourselves from this, should we make that choice. And instead, we just have enough people repeating the same battle cries, repeating the same injustices, repeating the same whatever, fill in the blank, and right, and we're not getting past it. And he broke it down so beautifully. It's actually in the Book of Alchemy, and I can't remember the author, but it's a beautiful book for getting back into a consistent journal practice. I will say that. It's a beautiful book for continued reflection. And so him posing this question really made me want to also pose this question. Okay, what narratives are you rewriting? And then I'm going to follow up with why. And for me, when I think about my teeny tiny little baby self being so powerful, and I think this is everyone. So this is not just me, but when I was thinking about my truth, like the truths were one by one unwritten for me. And I think if we start at the kind of base level existence, safety and security as a child, I don't know that I didn't feel safe because I grew up in a very small community and we got to just kind of run ragged. There wasn't a lot of concern. So I think I felt pretty safe in my community, in my home. But there was definitely some food insecurity, and I don't know that it was like, we're going to go without. I don't remember that. I just remember there not really being enough, or there being this constant worry of not enough, or what's the next meal, or how long are these groceries going to last. So there was some scarcity there written into that narrative around like this birthright of the world providing for you is not a given. You can't really trust that, right? So I begin to question that. And then, as soon as I get into school, I'm out there, I'm living wild. I promise you, I wore a yellow Fabric Crayon Hannah Banana Hanes jumpsuit most of the days. And when I grew out of that, I cut it off into like sweatshirt, sweat shorts, like sweat t-shirt and sweat shorts. And I wore a bazillion ponytails on my head almost every day. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was my style. I wore a bunch of clippies for no good reason. And I was just like this creative, eclectic soul that knew what she was doing intuitively. Just like, man, I don't even care. You guys are all wearing that? Not me. That's not me. I know who I am. And I am 30 ponytails on the tippy top of my head because I have super short hair, because I cut it all off, because I know myself so well. I don't even want this long hair anymore. Gone. Ponytail, 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 ponytail. Boom. What's up? And then I get about into first grade, and that was the first time that I start to question if you get to just decide. Because I had always just decided. My mom was an art teacher. She was always so creative, and she really just let me be me. I think being the third born, it was like, well, maybe on the first one we tried to control too much. Maybe on the second one we didn't quite control enough. Or I don't know, maybe this third one we'll just let kind of raise herself. And where they didn't write a narrative super strong about, I always remember my mom just being like, Hannah knows who she is. And she doesn't care. What a beautiful thing. She doesn't care. So I don't know what to tell you. But by first grade, that was the first time, this is where my dream died here, that I realized you could get answers wrong. And I didn't really feel like you could. I was like, there actually are no right answers. Because we can just do what we want. We can be creative and joyful. This is what we get to do. We can just pick a million things and do 1,000,001 of them. It's really not that crazy. And I'm so creative and so expansive and just this beautiful little being as described by other people. I do plays all the time. I dance and sing and am just, as my uncle lovingly described me, a weird kid. And then I think having that questioned creativity drives me into beginning to question my own power, because I feel so limited in creativity, in my own expansion, in my own choice. And so then I really start disempowering myself by taking on illnesses, like repeated illnesses. And I do think this is in part the neglect that comes with being an easy kid. They didn't really have to worry too much about me. I was pretty happy go lucky. And so my ease always, as I figured out this weekend, sort of felt like abandonment. Everyone required so much more care than I did. And so instead of being abandoned, and because I was questioning my own self power, I start to kind of over fixate on illnesses. I can't let them go. I'm just over fixating, and my mom comes in to save the day, and my dad comes in to make me a complicated, very expensive kid, and all of a sudden I'm cared for again because I'm complicated. And so it's no wonder why I was in and out of hospitals my entire childhood, because my truth, the root, the core of who I am, really was always creative and expansive and self-powered, right? And I never really got to continue exploring that because I sort of sunk into this lesser self. Yeah. And so as I think about what narratives I'm changing for myself, and even more importantly, for my kids. Hello, that legacy piece. And not like, this is confusing, I think, when we talk about legacy. I don't want to like leave a mark so people remember who I am and my name gets etched somewhere. I want to leave a mark so my kids and grandkids understand how to love. You know, they understand how to care, how to create community. Like, that's the mark I want to leave. And that will be done through my bloodline. And that is my legacy. Sure, put my name on a bench or two. No, don't do it. Okay? Put me in the roots of a willow tree. And then my peace, my wisdom will live on forever somewhere. And people can come and be with me. And I will be there. Okay? I will be in that willow tree. You do not have to question that for a second. I am coming back. Like, I wake up naturally at 2 a.m. You think that I'm not going to put myself back in a willow tree to hang out with you? Come on. I'm going to give you some wisdom. I'm going to shake my branches at you a little bit. Yes, I'll be there. Okay? But my legacy, okay, it's going to live on in a tree for like a very long time, and people will just wonder what this mystical tree is 100 years from now. Fine. Right? It doesn't even have to have my name on it. Just know my soul is there. But my kids, my bloodline, how this continues, the story that they write will be the most important. And so those are the narratives that we're working to rewrite for ourselves as a family unit, for myself as a influencer of my own children, an influencer of my own community, of my family. I'm rewriting that because I need everyone around me, everyone in my bloodline. And I talked to my siblings about this the other day because, I don't know, my nephew maybe got an opportunity, and I jokingly was like, oh yeah, must be nice to be related to the athletic director. Ha 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 ha. And my brother was like, actually, ba 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 ba. Ha ha ha. And I said, hey fam, considering we didn't come from a family that there was a benefit from, how cool that we have created one for our own children. that there are benefits to our family name. Epic. That's the rewriting of a narrative. Okay? Because I remember growing up and I remember that being a thing. Oh, yeah, must be nice that they have all this money so they can put their kids in something like that. That must be nice. Oh, must be nice that they're related to so and so, so they got to do that. Sorry, guys, you're just not going to get those opportunities. Must be so nice. Must be nice. That's it. Yeah. And I have talked about this on the show before. Yeah, it must be nice. And it is nice. As someone who's on kind of the edge of rewriting that narrative forever, like, must be nice. It is. It is nice to be connected to powerful people. It is nice to have a community that you can lean on that can actually support you. It is nice to have family that is that are educated, reliable, there, have time to invest in you, that are just good people. Because I feel like when you get down in that scarce narrative, it's hard to be a good person because the world is constantly attacking you. Constantly. So, I don't know, all of that just to kind of round back to what narratives are you rewriting? Intentionally. Okay? I had so many things that were on repeat that would have been like, yep, play the broken record, Dad. What do you... He still says them, by the way. And that doesn't make him a bad person. That just makes him repeating probably what he grew up with. And my husband and I grew up in very similar situations, very Midwest, very middle class, we don't quite have enough, but we have enough. It's okay type of vibes. And we both had things that we had narratives that we did not ever want to pass on to our kids. And, my husband kind of reads his own resources to help guide and save himself from that. And sometimes we share resources in education that we find that we think is valuable. For him, Rich Dad, Poor Dad was a big kind of money mindset shift for him. I leaned on Dave Ramsey and all of the things that he did for a long time to shift money mindsets, because that was a big one. That had pretty much everything to do around scarcity and allowing ourselves to kind of elevate. Then next, I would say range. Probably guided a lot of like our kid decisions that we made. That one was an important one that we both read and invested in. And that just talks about the importance of range, a range of options and interests and things. And we were probably right around the age where we were being told we needed to get specific on what our kids really should be doing, want to do, so that they don't get left behind. We're like, yeah, you can go ahead and just leave them behind. We don't have that same mentality. Guess they're going to miss your train. Darn it. What are we going to do? And again, people who stay in that narrative, and similar to my dad, it's not a problem. It's just something you never changed. And now that it doesn't kind of own my narrative, it's just funny. It's just funny. And that is a big release. I think when you get to a level of I've healed those narratives where they aren't triggering anymore, they're just funny. For me, it's just like, oh my gosh, he always said that, didn't he? And before, and even probably a year or two ago, when I was still kind of back and forth and wavering in the shift of those narratives, I would have been like, I know. If it's too good to be true, you can't trust it. I know. And then I'd question my own ease, right? And then I'd question my own truth, and I'd question this inherent birthright that I had before people started writing narratives for me. And I do not accept, right? And I have said this about a lot of doctor diagnosis. Like, I do not accept. I don't accept what you're telling me, which makes me a terrible patient. I am aware, right? And in the line of narratives, I do not accept that narrative. And if you continue to, that's fine. From here, it's just funny. Like, it's just part of that person's folklore. But it doesn't have to be a triggering part of your experience with them. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world.